Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Department of Trade and Industry Region Seven's live show for Youth Entrepreneurship Program. Yes, my name is G and I will be your host for today. I hope that your week is really going well at sana lahat tayo ay happy at healthy by staying fit, taking vitamins, eating healthy, and drinking lots of liquids. So, for today's webinar, we will be focusing on empowering our youth so that we can inspire them to become great entrepreneurs for the Philippines in the future. Yes, that is why DTI Region 7 came up with a webinar series that we will be calling Youth Entrepreneurship Program or YEP. After we get to listen to our speakers we have invited, we will have a sit down chat with them to give us a chance to pick their brains and learn more from them. Vernon Joseph Go, who is a registered financial planner with more than 10 years of experience under his belt, a business columnist, and an award winning content creator. Vernon also has delivered hundreds of talks as public speaker from small classrooms up until massive auditoriums. And this afternoon, he will be sharing his insights about personal financial tips for us youth. Of course, as youth, we need to pay attention to finances. Hello, Vernon. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm good.
So nice to see you. So yeah, I am excited to listen to your talk. So I'll let you take it away.
Sure.
Hello, everyone. My name is Vernon Joseph Go. To just share something about myself. I started my financial learning journey when I was already working. So as I'm sure um, all of us know that we were not really taught about personal finance uh, as to the details of it or how we're going to go about it. At least during my time, um, there was nothing, right? Many of us are, or many of you are probably just starting your uh, adult life, or even if you're already in the middle of your adult life, this guide that I made will definitely be useful for how to get good with money, or at least have like an overview of it, because it's really difficult, or it's impossible to condense everything um, in one sitting or in 30 minutes or so. So there's also that. But I've made sure that to give you a comprehensive overview of basically a rough order that can guide you as to what you should be doing. So without further ado, here we go. What is it all about? Personal finance is the art and science of the application of finance principles to a person or a unit. This image that I shared here is the image of the heart and the mind. I think this is a very good visual representation of personal finance, because it's a constant battle between your brain and your heart. Um, on one hand, you have your desires, you have your wants, you want that milk tea, you want that that very expensive plant for some reason. But then your brain tries to rein yourself in, and it's a constant back and forth. Our likes and wants, needs, it varies at different ages of our life, or different stages of our life. So if you're single, your priorities are different. If you're married, your priorities are different. And if you're approaching retirement, once again, your priorities will shift. So the first step number one, self-awareness. Okay, self-awareness is very important, because this is what keeps us going, or this is what gives us direction. So let me throw this question: if knowledge is power, what is more powerful than knowledge? Let's pause there. Let you think, let that question sink in. But the answer at least that I chose is habits are more powerful than knowledge. Why? An example. Let's say a health example. Cigarette smoking, right? cigarette smoking is dangerous to your health. We all know this. We all know that cigarette smoking is bad. There's a government warning. Cigarette smoking is dangerous for your health. And yet, these people who know, they know that cigarette smoking is bad, they still keep smoking. Now, they may have different reasons for smoking. It could be peer pressure, it could be prestige, it could be something else, right? But at the end of the day, this is a good example of you have the knowledge, but you're not applying the knowledge, right? Your knowledge is being overwritten by your habits. And in this case, it's a bad habit, right? And if you're not self-aware of these kinds of all the financial concepts, investment concepts, insurance concepts, and so on and so forth, banking concept, accounting concepts. If when the time comes you want or you need to apply it, won't be able to consistently execute on it, then there's something wrong. You need to look inwards instead of outwards. You need to look at yourself. You need to ask yourself those questions, those hard questions. What is it that is hindering me from pursuing the financial life that I desire? Right? Self-awareness. It's quite deep, but it's gonna make sense. Uh, Number two, it starts with a budget. Everything starts with a budget. A budget is a spending plan. It can also be a savings plan. What a budget is actually it's a financial plan, a very, very basic financial plan. And a budget allows you to see your cash inflow and your cash outflow. And if you're honest with yourself, like this relates to number one, if you're honest with yourself, you will have the opportunity to analyze everything. And you're also like getting to know yourself again, because financially you will be in constant battle with yourself. You will look at why did I spend this much for Shopee, for Lazada, 10, 11, 11, 9, 9, all those sales, all those promos. Why do I keep on spending things that I do not necessarily need, right? So that it starts with budget. Quick rules for budgeting. Rule number one, don't lose money. Rule number two, don't forget rule number one. So that is from Warren Buffett. This is his rules for investing, but it's also applicable to personal finance. It's also applicable to budgeting. A budget will give you that big picture view of your net worth, right? How much you earn, how many assets you have. The budget allows us to document your starting point, right? How can you proceed to the next level? How can you go from point A to point B if you don't know your current situation? So the budget gives you that opportunity to see the distance between you and your goal, which leads us to the next step. Number three, identify your goals. So different people will have different goals. As I've mentioned earlier, different stages of your life, you will have different goals. So whatever those goals may be, whether if it's a dream car, pet, wedding, your dream wedding, property, whether if it's house and lot or condominium, or if you want to be a plantito or plantita, start a small farm, a garden, or if you just want to travel the world, you start identifying your goals. Now, the goal setting, it's quite scary, but if you want to pursue the life that you want, then you have to set your goals. This will give you a rough picture of how you want to live. So how do you consolidate your goals and your budget? So the trick here is you quantify your goals. So if you want a car, what type of car, right? Is it an expensive car? Is it an SUV? How much does it cost? So once you know how much it costs, then you know how much you need to make, right? If it's an SUV, 1.5 to 2 million, and then okay, how much do I need to save in order to reach that amount, right? So now, if you quantify your goals, it becomes closer to reality. Number 4, get a financial buddy, aka accountability partner. And it always helps to have sort of cheerleader, right? Someone to vent to, someone to talk about money to. Because in our culture, we are not necessarily open to talk about money, right? Money is one of the taboo topics in our society, right? There's religion, politics, money, and sex. So money is the top 4 things that's quite difficult to talk about with your family. Now, if your family is open with this, then good for you. If not, then consider having an accountability partner. Number 5, set aside funds for emergencies. Basically, emergency fund. People tend to underestimate savings, but most of the time, your savings will save you. Typically, the emergency fund can be set aside to mitigate job loss or income loss. So the advisable range is if you have set aside money for at least 3 to 6 months of your income, or instead, it can also be 3 to 6 months of your monthly expenses. Basically, the money that allows you to survive until you find your next job or your next replacement income stream. And then you can also set aside money for car repairs or home repairs, and of course, medical emergencies. Number 6, get financially educated. As I mentioned earlier, uh, personal finance is application of financial concepts to a person or unit. And these financial concepts, this is it. There's a lot, right? So employment, salary, budget, insurance, mortgage, credit, deposit, investment, retirement, tax advantage, social security, savings, debt. And that's not even everything. Right? If you are taking notes, please do take notes. You can research or learn more about these individual concepts, uh, as an assignment for later. Right? And in the second image, you have there the overview of Philippine financial system. So just to show you the financial institutions that regulate certain financial industries. So for bank and other financial institutions, you have Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, and then uh, for lending, so I'm gonna get closer. Lending companies, investment houses, financing corporation, capital markets, insurance, cooperative. So you have the SEC, IC, and CDA for that. So just to give you like a gist of how vast the financial industry is. So typically when we talk about finance, we always end up talking about investment. So here let's describe what investment is. People don't know what investment means. We use it like we tend to use words that we necessarily don't understand, right? We don't know what it is. We just claim to know what it is. So for me, the definition I subscribe to is an investment operation is one which, upon thorough analysis, promises safety of principal and satisfactory return. So this was taken from a book, Security Analysis, in 1934 by Benjamin Graham and David Dodd. So Benjamin Graham was the mentor of Warren Buffett. So safety of principal, that's the key word, and a satisfactory return, right? If it's other than that, it's probably fraud or a scam, right? Outrageous returns. And this is an unpleasant truth. Like people cannot accept it. They think that investments should be like a very, very big return all the time. No, it's not consistent because there's this thing called market factors, right? Market factors, there's supply, there's demand. So with that, it means there's no such thing as guaranteed investment. And if somebody comes to you and says, "Hey, your investment is guaranteed. No, no. This year is the best example for no such thing as guarantees, right? So we have a health crisis, global health crisis. So for sure, the people forecasting last year, they would have been very optimistic and said, hey, 2020 is the best year for investment. And then, something happened. Pandemic happened. And a lot of investments were not successful, basically, right? Another guy is investment is most intelligent when it is most business-like. So let's have an example here. An example I can think of is let's see, there's agribusiness, right? Agribusiness is a legit type of business. Let's say you're buying and selling pigs, or you're buying and selling poultry, right? Some people, fraudulent scammers in general, will approach you and say, come invest with me. Your investment is guaranteed. And this is the formula, right? This is the methodology. The methodology is sound, right? You buy a pig, you grow the pig gets fat, it weighs, it becomes heavier. The heavier it is, the more it costs. You sell it, the margin, there's a margin of profit. That's your profit. That's how basically buying and selling pigs work. But if they say that, our investment, if you invest with me, it's 100% return all the time, that becomes tricky. That becomes questionable, because how can you guarantee 100% return all the time without accounting for a margin of error? Even scientists account for margin of error. So are you saying your pigs are immortal? The pig could get sick, or it could die, right? If the pig gets sick, it will be thinner. Therefore, you cannot sell it for the same amount that you wish to sell it. So you either reduce your margin of profit, or you may take losses. So when somebody says, hey, all the time, I will guarantee this fixed amount. No, that's impossible, basically, right? So this leads us to something I want to share about scams and fraudulent schemes. Like, even if we are in a health crisis this year, there are still lots of scammers who are trying to take advantage of our situation, right? And just to share with you, RA, Republic Act 8799, Securities Regulation Code, states that no person shall engage in buying and selling of securities unless they are registered with the SEC. I specified here secondary license because, let's say, if you want to start a business, you need license to operate. That's the registration for SEC and for DTI. But the secondary license part that's another thing. That's for buying and selling investment. So those who do these kinds of things may be criminally liable, the maximum fine of 5 million pesos or imprisonment of up to 21 years or both. And then number 7 is health is wealth. So this is just like a reminder for everyone. I'm sure health is very important, especially this year. But same thing as I mentioned in the step number 1. It's not enough to have the knowledge, right? Every one of us knows that exercise, proper and balanced diet is very important, and yet some of us are still far behind in applying those particular knowledge. So you cannot just read about push-ups. You need to actually do the push-ups. Number 8, create financial strategy or an action plan. So now you know now you see the big picture of your cash inflow, cash outflow. Then you can strategize. How are we gonna proceed from here? Just like a business. If you're a business owner, you know the situation, the financial situation, you have a goal that you want to go to. Should you decide to expand your business? Or should you decide to maintain the business, keep it business as usual, and then maybe start a new business? So these are the things that we need to consider or think about, right? Now, if you're not a business owner, you can plan out if you want a promotion, okay, based on your budget, based on your network, based on your cash inflow outflow. You feel that you want to shorten the time that you wish to achieve the goals, and one of the ways to do that is to increase your income. So how do you increase your income? One way is to seek promotion, or you strategize so that you will get promotion, so that you will get an increase in your salary. Or you can do a side hustles. You can do part-times, you can do sidelines, because in the 24 hours we have each day, 8 hours. Let's say 8 hours is used for sleep, 8 hours is used for work, for your full-time job, and you still have remaining 8 hours for you to divide for entertainment, leisure, social life, family life, or sideline. You decide, you strategize, create an action plan, and execute it. Next, okay, you execute and apply your knowledge. Okay, so as we mentioned earlier, there's so many concepts in personal finance. Now is the time for you to apply those things. Get insurance, get your health insurance, get your life insurance, get your group family insurance, insure your non-life own assets or properties, and get your income protected. So the goal of insurance is protection or financial disaster preparedness. And I think it has become, people have become aware of insurance due to the pandemic. Of course, investment. So now, why do I say that you need to get financially educated first before investing? It's because how do I say this? If you engage into something that you have no idea about, you're basically just gambling your money away, right? You don't want to gamble your hard-earned money. So you study it, you study your particular investment, and then you stick to it. You start small. Start with one investment. Don't directly have multiple investments, although they say you have to diversify. But my take is you start with one, you stabilize it before you move to the next. Okay. So how or where do you invest? That's one of the very important questions that you guys may be thinking. So you invest in government. Why? Why invest in government? Government can provide you one of the safest investment instruments out there. So treasury bills, retail treasury bonds, but those require specialists to buy and sell. So if you're not a bond seller or a broker, what do you do? Well, there's lots of programs or laws that you can take advantage of in the government. Investment instruments provided by government agencies such as SSS and Pag-ibig. So SSS have a peso fund. It's a tax-free investment instrument. Same with Pag-ibig MP2, which is a high-yield savings account. And then you have the PERA law, a personal equity retirement account. Basically, it provides you with a tax-free investment income, from final withholding tax, capital gains tax, and income tax. So it's tax-free, right? Government. Of course, stock market. You study the stock market, trading, value investing. Business, for business, you can reach out to DTI. So they have the BMBE law, which is what do you call this again? Barangay Micro business enterprise, which basically it's a program wherein you can possibly have a potential micro business tax exemption for 2 years, I think. So more on that with DTI, you can reach out to DTI. And then lastly, you should invest in yourself. Don't forget about yourself. One of the things that you should invest on is our skills, in the highly in demand skills, or you can start with sales. Sales is very important because you will probably be engaged in sales your whole life. First thing you do after you graduate college, you sell yourself. Resume, interviews. If you want to start business, you still be engaged in selling. If you want to engage in investment, you will still be engaged in selling. But especially in the stock market, you buy and sell publicly registered companies. Right? So selling is something you should think about. And why should you invest? Well, you can be young without money, but you can't be old without it. So, okay, number 10, consider goal. Grind, optimize, automate, and thrive. So basically, highly encourage you to automate your investments or your savings so that it will be easier for you to focus on things, on your work, on your family. Don't let money rule your life, basically. Take advantage of technology, apps, telemedicine. Consider that. Number 11. So don't forget to pause for money mental health. Uh, have money check-ins with your buddies, your financial buddy. Celebrate small success. Don't forget to celebrate small success. Uh, accept our current money culture. The more you learn, actually, the more you will encounter the bad money culture that we have. Um, for example, the taboo money talk with your family. Another is turning your children into retirement funds. It's another one. So you will find yourself. You'll probably, if you're lucky, you won't find yourself in this particular situation if your family's open with money and finance. But if they are not, then you will sooner or later have to confront them. You may need to talk to them about their finances for their own good. And this is the part where you share your knowledge and maybe a little bit of your blessings to them. And of course, as I've mentioned earlier, do not be carried away with the pursuit of money. Remember why you're doing this. Remember why you're saving, you're investing. It is to achieve your identified financial goal. Um, and ultimately, you should also remember your happiness, right? At the end of the day, whatever we are pursuing, it is the pursuit of our own happiness, whatever it may be. So understanding how money works is the first step towards living the life you want to live. Number 12, the last one. So don't be afraid to ask for help, right? As you can see that guy that's multitasking, we already have so much going on in our life, right? We have family, we have our career, we have our social life, and then all the other things that's also going on in the world. And then you add all these things. Uh, you need to learn all these things about personal finance, about investment, about insurance, about real estate, about so on and so forth. So at some point you should consider like asking for help, right? Who do you ask for help to? The specialist. Uh, RFPs or registered financial planners such as myself. Um, we can help you plan a holistic view of your financial life. We're not going to sell you products, okay? Just like a doctor, when you're sick, you look for a doctor, you ask for a consult for a doctor, and the doctor will do their diagnosis, and then they're going to give you some recommendations, and you pay the doctor's fee. And then the doctor will recommend some products, and then you get the recita, and then you go to the pharmacist, right? You do not go directly to your pharmacist to ask for recommendations for the situation, because of course they will be biased, right? So that's one. Next one would be accountants. If you run a business, accountants are very useful. If you don't run a business, accountants are still useful for to manage or to make you understand your taxes, your tax liabilities. And then next will be, of course, lawyers, and then other specialists in the field, because personal finance is so many interacting or uh, fields that you need to interact with. So there's health aspect, there's nutrition, there's fitness, there's real estate. So don't be afraid to ask for their help. Yep, and that's it. All right. If you have any questions, feel free to send it to me or send it to my blog. And you can see there my blog links, the social links. If your question is very detailed, let me know. I'll be very happy to answer them for you. And I hope that you guys learned something new. And of course, stay safe.
What an amazing talk that was, Vernon. I really learned a lot. Like, thank you so much for that. Ang dami kong natutunan about personal finance, like, emergency fund. Now, we just realized during this pandemic that is very, very important. So,
Yes.
so far, this afternoon really has been very super educational and awe-inspiring. So, let's keep it all in our jar of learnings. Now, I also have a question for Vernon. Yeah, a lot of my friends, a lot of friends my age, I am young, youth, says that stocks are investments, and investments are gamble. So you don't put money you're not willing to lose, right? What's your take on it, or to what extent does that hold true?
Um, so, uh, as I mentioned earlier, rule number one: don't lose money. You know?
Mm-mm.
So I will agree with as much as possible. You should reduce the opportunities that you put yourself into losing
Yeah.
money, taking money out of your pocket.
Mm-mm.
Um, for the gambling part, if you do not know what you're getting yourself into, you're just basically gambling. You're you're
Yeah.
you're setting yourself up to lose money. So why would you put yourself in that position if you work hard for your money, diba?
Mm-mm.
So for anyway, if you want to still invest in stocks, there are many ways to reduce the risk. And one way to reduce the risk is to know what you're getting yourself into. So it's to
Yeah.
understand those things. So for stocks, there are many options. So I'll just
Yeah.
make this like a bullet point. If you work for a company that's publicly listed in the stock market, the-
Mm-mm.
and if they offer stock options, then technically you're investing in the stock market. It's just that
Mm-mm.
it's just for one company, and you're not diversified. But that's a start, diba?
Yeah.
Another, if you want to be diversified, then you can go for pooled funds. So these are funds or like different stocks that are pulled into a fund. It's like a group investing, but there's one
Mm-mm.
person who's managing it. So that's what you call the mutual funds, the UITF
Yeah.
under banks, and the ETF, the exchange traded funds. So if you don't want to learn the nitty gritty, then you can just invest in mutual funds that follow the index, right? And then, yeah, there are many other options. As I mentioned, Pera, the personal equity retirement account, it's
Mm-mm.
is attached to a bank, which also invests that into an equity fund, which is
Mm-mm.
invested in the stock market. But it has lots of tax benefits or tax advantages.
Yeah.
So that you can go for that. So that's the you have safety, at least, and then you have also tax benefits. So I think that's a good option.
Okay, that was very insightful. Guys, if you don't want to lose your money, like, you should know what you are getting into. Like, that's a piece of advice I am reminding myself. We also have like questions coming from the crowd. This is for Vernon and David. So, what industry do you think will rise right after this pandemic? Thank you so much,
Uh,
David.
I think I think eventually like all industries will recover. But my take on it is, if you want if the context of the question is you want to know which industries will rise so that you can invest or put some money in that particular
Yeah.
information, um, then you can consider looking at industries that are already adapting or thriving now,
Yeah.
because once the pandemic is over, it's going to be like a different world already, because a lot of changes are already happening, like today. Like for example, for the tourism industry, I think, I'll just set an example outside the country. They are already like adapting different. They're doing like virtual tours instead, like let's say for museums and different types of specific industry for ecotourism. So they're providing. Um, Actually, it's an opportunity for them to market their place more, so that once it's done, people just want to just go there and see it for themselves or experience it
Yeah.
for themselves. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, hopefully like that thus we call it like the new normal. Like people are trying to navigate this new normal. So we'll see right after this pandemic. But thank you so much, Vernon and David, for your answers. Would let you guys answer whoever wants to answer. This is also a question coming from the crowd. Because everybody has a topic about going digital. Is there a place? Not really funny, but I think he is really like serious.
Interesting.
I'd like to correct myself. Not funny. Very interesting and very relevant. So I'm putting this out there. Is there a place for the funeral industry to go online, given that the nature of the business is quite morbid? So the question was asked by a funeral business. Apology, it was not funny. It was very nice
Relevant.
question,
Very
relevant. Very valid question, no? Because like you asked yourself, well, yeah, how's the funeral business?
Yeah, I think it's very, unfortunately, it's a lucrative. It's a bit opportunistic, but it's already happening. I mean, at
Yeah.
least for me, as I've experienced like in the past months, I've attended like a wake uh,
Yeah.
like this,
online.
and
Yeah.
sometimes it takes a long time because the one who's organizing it, are the family themselves, and they're having a hard time, like really really just moving the event along. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but
Yeah.
um, that's an opportunity, because it's like most offline events are now online, like
Yeah.
seminars, workshops,
Yeah.
and technically
True.
that's an event, but it's a life event, a death event. But yeah, that can be like an offer for funeral parlors or any related funeral business, and that's an option. Another option would be the cremation
Yeah.
Yeah.
for for them as well, offering related like anything that can be replaced or replicated digitally. Of course, not all.
Interesting, no? There are a lot of potential though. Like I think all industries can fit to a certain space in digital space. You just have to find that certain, platform of where you can do that. Yeah, thank you so much guys. That was very interesting. I'll go to Vernon again. For this question, what do you think is the role of the youth's personal financial planning to the greater economic environment? Like, the saving more or spending more, like in a more granular effects. Like personally, affects like the economic of the bigger things. Like in what way?
That's a very economist question.
Economic question. Yeah.
And I'm not, disclaimer, I'm not an economist. But you have to look at it macro and micro. From a
Yeah.
micro perspective, you need to put some money or cash flow into your pockets. No, whether
Mm,
if you're a worker, or if you have a job, or if you're an entrepreneur, right?
mm-mm.
Because either way, cash is king, right?
Yeah.
It's just the process of getting that cash is different. For a job, you work, get employed.
Yeah.
For for a business, you need to ramp up your sales.
Yeah.
Uh, and I think we've experienced the impact already this this lockdown period or quarantine period. Um, so I think the best answer would be to have a very a balanced approach, or otherwise
Yeah.
there will be disruption, and sometimes the disruption is good, like e-commerce, for example, and the digital collaborations. Before, I think last year there were still some skeptics saying,
Mm.
I don't know, we cannot do digital or we cannot do e-commerce, and then suddenly when they are forced to do it, here we
Yeah.
are. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah,
So I
yeah,
think
be open to like all the possibilities. Like also one just I got there was like, you need to know which one, like what part of your earnings you should save and you should like shop or spend. So yeah. So this one last question is for everyone, and a lot of people will expect this question. It's more of like, how does it feel to be successful at a young age? That's the cliche question, but let me reframe it to like a better way. Like, what fulfillment do you feel knowing that at this age you are really making a difference?
for me personally, like I don't really feel successful. It's more of like it's a work in progress. Like
Yeah.
it's a continuous thing. Don't necessarily pursue success. Just pursue your happiness, diba?
Mm.
At the end of the day, that's what we are all doing, diba? And
Yeah.
go find and do things that you enjoy. And the ideal is go do things that you enjoy while still getting compensated for it. So
Yes,
That's the
yes,
most
yes.
important.
Mhm.
for fulfillment, I think if you're able to affect another person's life, I think that's my fulfillment so far. Whether if it's through different types of like content. So my content's inclined towards finance. So whether it's in written or audio or in visual, um,
Yeah,
I get feedback, and I enjoy interacting with people who really like stop me in the street here in my town, wherein I don't really know them, but they stop me and say, oh, is this you in the newspaper? And then they ask, yes, I wrote that. And then they discuss like, oh, this is what I learned and this is what I realized. And I think that's very fulfilling, that I get to
yeah.
help them without even knowing, unless I get the feedback.